The room was silent except for the shrill, haunting rhythm of two heart monitors. A pair of fragile, tiny bodies lay inside transparent cribs surrounded by wires, tubes, and blinking lights. The hospital's best surgeons, pediatricians, and specialists had already passed through, one after another, and every one of them left with the same heavy words: "There's nothing more we can do." The CEO, Cassandra Hale, a woman who had built her empire from nothing and stood tall in boardrooms full of wolves, was now reduced to trembling knees and tear-streaked cheeks. Her twin daughters, born premature and frail, were slipping away. And for the first time in her life, money, power, and influence meant absolutely nothing. She clutched the edge of the cribs, whispering, "Please see Broken Bar, please don't leave me. You are my whole life. I'll give up the company. I'll give up everything, just don't take them away from me." But the silence that followed her sobs was deafening. The doctors had walked away. The nurses exchanged pitying glances. The world's most powerful medical experts had bowed their heads. And Cassandra, the woman known as the Iron Lady of Wall Street, felt like a helpless little girl watching her entire soul dissolve in front of her. And at a Broken Bar, that is when he walked in. A man in a faded military jacket, his boots worn from years of service, and his eyes carrying the weight of battles fought far from the safety of hospitals and skyscrapers. His name was David Kolyasinghe, a combat veteran, and a man who carried something far greater than any degree or fortune could buy. Something sacred, something given, he often said, not by man, but by heaven itself. The guards at the door had tried to stop him, but Cassandra's desperate scream: "Let anyone help, just let them try." He made them step aside. David looked at the twins, then at Cassandra. She could see it immediately. This man wasn't a doctor, he wasn't a scientist, he was just a Broken Bar ordinary. And yet, something in the way he stood, something in the way his hands trembled yet steadied when he reached toward the crib, told her he had faced death before. Not once, not twice, but countless times. And he had pulled others back from its grasp. "Whoa, Broken Bar, who are you?" Cassandra whispered, her voice raw. He met her eyes, calm but carrying a storm within. "Just a father who once begged for the same mercy," David said. That was the hook. But you'll only understand why his words shattered Cassandra's heart if you stay with me until the very end of this story. Because at the end, you'll hear those words again, and by then, they'll mean something far more powerful than you can imagine. The air in the ICU grew heavy. Nurses whispered, "What's he doing here? This isn't a place for Merklessa, this is medicine." But Cassandra didn't push him away. Something inside her, something deeper than logic or science, begged her to let him try. David carefully rolled up his sleeves. His hands were scarred, calloused, the hands of a man who had built, fought, and carried too much weight for too long. He placed one hand gently on each of the twins' chests, and then, he closed his eyes. Not in the way people do when they wish. Not the shallow silence of someone pretending. No, his entire being shifted, as though he carried an invisible burden and was now pouring it out into something higher. He whispered words Cassandra couldn't understand, words that sounded like prayers carried across centuries, raw and ancient. His voice trembled at first, then steadied, then grew stronger until it filled the room. The machines kept beeping erratically. Nurses gasped as numbers fluctuated. Doctors rushed back in, furious. "What are you doing?" One snapped. "Get him out of here!" shouted another. But the twins' heartbeats steadied. Not fully, not perfectly, but enough that every specialist who had already given up froze in disbelief. Cassandra grabbed David's arm, her tears falling fast. "What a Broken Bar, what are you doing to them?" David didn't look up. His jaw clenched, his eyes squeezed tighter as if holding back his own pain. "I'm giving them what was once given to me," he whispered. The truth was, years ago, David had been on a battlefield far from home when his own daughter lay dying in a crumbling shelter. He had nothing, no medics, no equipment, no hope, and Dana, an old village healer, had knelt beside him, placed hands on his little girl, and prayed in the same ancient tongue. His daughter had survived when logic said she wouldn't. And now, David carried that gift, not because he was chosen, not because he was special, but because he had been desperate enough to believe. Back in the ICU, The Shah, the woman who had commanded thousands of employees and struck fear in the hearts of rivals, fell to her knees beside Dave.